Have you ever pondered the concept of a Greater Israel? A notion that suggests Zionists aspire to establish a state encompassing a vast stretch of the Middle East, from the Nile to the Euphrates. This idea, while captivating, is largely founded on conjecture and misinterpretation. This widespread belief, particularly in Arabic-speaking countries and Iran, has generated a tapestry of misunderstandings and negative attitudes towards Israel. But what evidence supports this concept? Is there any tangible proof, or is it merely a myth? One piece of so-called evidence is the depiction of maps on Israeli coins. Critics argue these coins display a Greater Israel, stretching from the Nile to the Euphrates. However, on closer inspection, this claim is found wanting. The coins, in fact, depict a historical map of the 12 tribes of ancient Israel, a far cry from the expansive territory of the purported Greater Israel. Another claim points to supposed inscriptions on the Israeli parliament building, asserting they espouse the idea of a Greater Israel. Yet this, too, is a misinterpretation. The inscriptions in question are biblical verses, with no clear indication of any expansionist aspirations. The concept of a Greater Israel has roots both historical and biblical, yet these too have been manipulated to support this unfounded belief. Early Zionist leaders like Vladimir Jabotinsky and Moshe Dayan have been quoted out of context, their words twisted to suggest a desire for territorial expansion, a sentiment they never explicitly expressed. In essence, the notion of a Greater Israel is a myth, a fabrication resulting from misinterpretation and misunderstanding. This misconception has only served to exacerbate the Arab-Israeli conflict, creating a false narrative that hampers attempts at resolution. To recap, the evidence supporting the concept of a Greater Israel, including the depiction of maps on Israeli coins and supposed inscriptions on the Israeli parliament building, is largely unfounded and based on misinterpretation. Historical and biblical citations, as well as statements made by early Zionist leaders, have been manipulated to support this myth. Ultimately, the idea of a Greater Israel, while enthralling, is a fallacy, a myth that has hindered understanding, fostered negative attitudes, and obstructed the path towards resolution in the Arab-Israeli conflict.